Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. Just getting started. All right. Good on YouTube and good on Facebook. Beautiful. All right, let's get started. Starting recording in 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, evening, afternoon, magical beings. Welcome back to another solo-sode, another conversation, chat, and hopefully deep, loving education from my heart to yours. Today is a continuation of a series I've been doing here on the podcast around manifesting new love, romance, friends, and tribe. This is part 4 of the series. So if you have not listened to the first 3 parts, I'd highly recommend you go check them out. They do flow in a very specific order. But today, if you're new to this discussion, I will be providing you some tools, practices, mindset shifts, understandings around how you can bring about new divine love in your life through the lens of the chakra system. And today I'm excited because we are talking about manifesting love through the heart chakra. So I'm going to be giving you some practical tools and themes and understandings that resonate with the heart space. So we're going to go deep. We're going to pull back the layers. If you're listening on the podcast today, please share this out with a lover, a friend that you feel it can help and support. And if you have feedback for these shows, please always leave them on Spotify in the comments or on Apple in the reviews. That way I can make these shows just for you if there is something you want to see more of. If you are joining live, I see there Tina, I see there Christy Lynn. Thank you for joining on Facebook. And Lance, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. If you have comments and questions today, if you're joining live, please pop them in the comment section and I'd love to add them in. Christy Lynn says, oh, that's right. Today it's the heart. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm excited too, my friend. So without any further ado, let's just get straight into it because I have so much to share. I want to quickly summarize our 3 foundational manifesting rules and laws here that we can use through all the different chakra centers, right? I've repeated these through each episode and I'm going to keep doing that. So law 1 is you want to be that which you want to see. When we're manifesting new love, we want to be that which you want to see. Law 2 is you are not a soul in a body, but you are a body in a soul, energetically, spiritually, right? You're not a soul in the body, but you are a body in a soul. And law number 3 is there is nothing outside of you. When we go deep into ourselves to manifest the love that we want, we have to understand that there is nothing that is outside of you. So in regards to your manifesting, what that means is that if you want to manifest a new love, a new friend, a new tribe, then that thing that you want is inside. So with that, let's use those laws and start speaking about the themes of the heart chakra. The first of which is compassion and empathy, or how I would describe it, having a compassionate and empathetic heart. What does this mean? To hold compassion and empathy for another is to understand, is to know, is to feel them, is to recognize that you, as the unique soul expression of the wholeness, that if you had had the same life experiences, the same interactions, you had made the same choices, you would be at that place that you are now looking at the other soul through. This is what it means to have an empathic heart. This is what it means to have compassion and loving empathy for another. Why is this important? How does this help us manifest? When we start to build this empathic, compassionate muscle, we start to attract from this place. We start to raise our vibration to this empathic, compassionate frequency. And as our first fundamental law describes, if I want a partner, a tribe, a friend that holds compassion, that has empathetic tendencies to the life that I have lived, then I must flex that muscle. And I'll say one thing here before we move on to our next one. Compassion and empathy does not tolerate abuse. Compassion and empathy does not overlook setting boundaries and saying no when there needs to be a wall that's set, right? Because I know in my past, and maybe you can relate to this, that being an empathic soul sometimes meant that I was a pushover, sometimes meant that I overlooked abuse. But let me be very clear with my words. You can be a compassionate and empathic heart and not tolerate when someone crosses a boundary, when someone crosses a line, when someone does something that you need to put a line in the sand and say no to. So this is not an or conversation. This is an attribute and characteristic that you build through the heart chakra that you can strengthen to manifest love that has that same attribute. Okay, next up. Next practice, tool, understanding, teaching around the heart with manifesting love is a deep one. And it is the act, the skill, the teaching of forgiveness. Is the deep spiritual practice that is forgiveness. In my story, in my journey, for a very long time, forgiveness to me was an outside thing. If I am truly forgiving, that means I am forgiving an outside person, place, or experience that caused me harm. And while this can be a part of forgiveness, it is not the deepest understanding of what forgiveness through the heart is. And if we're looking to manifest new love, we must practice the deepest form of forgiveness. And what is the deepest form of forgiveness? I'll let you sit on it for a second and think about it, feel into it as I welcome Tina in the chat. I see there, my lovely friend. The deepest form of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. The deepest form of forgiveness is your ability to, going back to the first theme, empathically and compassionately forgive yourself. What is an example of this? Let's say in this theme today of manifesting new love, let's say that you had attracted into your world and made choices an abusive partner. And as that relationship unfolded, it ended in grief. It ended in destruction. It ended in hurtful separation? Well, one of the biggest tools and practices that you can now use to manifest new love into your life, not just romantically, but again, friends, tribe, is to apply self-forgiveness to the version of you that still exists in your heart that went through that experience, that went through that abusive experience, that made those choices. Forgiveness, in this instance, what it's actually doing is you're taking your power back. You're remembering, like our first fundamental laws applied, there is nothing outside of you. And two, if something externally is playing the illusion of having control and power over you, then one of the ways we take that control and power back is forgiveness, is releasing and letting go of the judgments, the stories, the pressures and expectations that we've placed on ourselves around how we think it should or should have unfolded. Usually when we do this, and this will come up later here, but I'll share it now. Usually when we apply self-forgiveness to past actions and choices, emotion comes, grief comes, anger comes, guilt and shame come. And it is in that moment we allow, we surrender, we experience, we feel those emotions. So I will leave it there with forgiveness, because we could speak a very long time about how forgiveness can apply to all of our spiritual teachings, but I'll end by saying forgiveness will be an eternal practice that we can continue to apply. And if we keep coming back to the self, we will always have a beautiful opportunity for growth and thus attraction of new people, relationships into our life. Next up here, the next theme through the heart chakra with manifesting new love is the theme of unity. When we drop into the heart chakra, one of the first things we remember and come back to the truth of is that the deepest consciousness state that we have in our heart, that all of us have in our heart space, is one of unity, is one of no separation. Why is this important? How does this connect to manifesting new love? As we discussed earlier, there is nothing outside of you, and your new love, your new friend, your new tribe, energetically, especially through the heart, is already with you. If you have the desire for a friend, for a tribe, for a new romantic partner, the fact that you have that desire means you are already connected to the thing. And through the lens of the heart, there is no separation between you and that thing. So what we can learn to do is we can use the theme of unity through the heart when we're manifesting new love to act as if the thing that we desire, we already have, because in the deepest reality, that is the truth. So let's get super specific. Let's give another example of this. Let's say that I am looking to manifest a tribe that is around me all the time, giving me support, allowing me to be heard and feel seen. Well, one of the things that I can do to manifest this tribe is not just connect into and feel that desire internally, but make choices in my day-to-day routine that reflect that tribe with those attributes already being in my world. Closing my eyes, connecting to the feeling of a tribe that sees me, feels me, holds me, and make a choice from that level of consciousness, make a choice from that level of feeling. The more that we can do this, the more that we can act from this place of unity. The quicker it is reflected in the 3D world outside of us. So this is how we can use unity through the heart to manifest what we want. Next up here, next theme through the heart is vulnerability. Probably one of my go-to tools and teachings and life lessons is the understanding that vulnerability in all areas of life, but today specifically through manifesting new love, vulnerability is a superpower. Vulnerability is what attracts. Vulnerability is what brings you closer to that which you want. In today's context, new love. A quick little anecdote here to really highlight this phenomena that I'm talking about. I am a really big fan of the Got Talent TV shows, specifically America's Got Talent. And not just because it's a whole spectacle and it's a whole thing in itself, but particularly for this very phenomena of vulnerability. For people that are new to the Got Talent shows, what they are is, people show up on the stage and they express themselves through the talent that they have. And then the judges and the crowd, quote unquote, rate them on their ability. And what I've noticed and what I would encourage you to look into is the more vulnerable the contestant is, the more sensitive and emotional, the more open to what is currently moving through them, the more reaction, the more connection, the more alluring energy is created in the audience, in the judges. And it is here I would assert that this is not a coincidence. We are pulled to others when they are open. One of the best ways we can open ourselves is to give ourselves permission to be vulnerable and to release the stories that vulnerability is a weakness, that vulnerability makes me less than, that vulnerability insert limiting belief. And if you're looking to, again, manifest a romantic partnership, tribe, friend, and let's say you want that manifestation to have an open heart, the best way for you to do that is to step forward with an open heart. Let's keep it going. I'm about halfway through, so I'm going to try and speed up here so I can get them all in today. Next theme of the heart space to help you manifest new love and practice here is the theme of energy flow. Theme of energy flow. Very similar to vulnerability and open heart, but slightly nuanced, and I'll explain why. So in the chakra system, for people that are new to it, the heart is the bridge between the lower human being that we are and the higher spiritual being that we are. And it acts as the conduit in which energy flows between both sides, parts of us. So one way that we can tune into the heart chakra and manifest new love is to embody this energy flow, is to embody flow and the movement of life in general. But one very specific way that we can do this is in the act of giving and receiving love. And I'll put a little asterisk, the act of giving and receiving love unconditionally. How many of you listening or watching today live have trouble with one of these ends of this love stick? How many of you like to give, but unconsciously add conditions on to that which you give? You give a thing, but then unconsciously you expect that person to do something for you because you gave the thing. Right? I can put my hand up for that. Or, how many of you watching or listening not just do not receive in general, aren't giving yourself permission to receive love, but when you do give yourself permission to receive love, you then, again, mostly unconsciously, you then feel like you need to do something in return to be deserving of that love that you receive. Also an imbalance, also a block in the energy flow. So this is a practice and a tool and a teaching that not only is life shifting, life transforming for our own relationship with love, but if we can learn to balance this energy flow internally, then we can start to do it externally with the love that we wish to manifest. Christy, you're saying, yes, this resonates. Right. And I will add some encouragement here. Right? If you are like me, you have this trouble, the challenge with the unconditional nature of the giving and the receiving. One, it's applying compassion for yourself, right? The other theme of the heart, and understanding that a lot of this is taught to us from a young age, that we must give with conditions, we must receive with conditions. And two, remembering that this is your natural state. Your natural state is one of unconditional love. So if it's becoming hard for you to give without conditions or receive without conditions, it will not be a gaining of this ability. It will not be a gaining of the ability to unconditionally give or unconditionally receive. It will be a coming home. It will be a removing of layers. It will be a releasing of stories. It will be a moving through, surrendering through trauma, pain, to come back to this ability that is your birthright. So it's there. You just need the time, the space, the awareness to come home. Christy, you're saying, to receive without conditions is what I have struggled with. Yeah, you're not alone. I'm right there with you. But it's in your heart. It's waiting. It's waiting to be opened. Okay, next up here. Next theme in the heart space. I hope you're enjoying this today. I hope it's giving you some love. If it is, please share this episode out or leave your comments in the comments section. I'd love to know what is really resonating with you, what is lighting you up the most around this topic today. Next theme here within the heart chakra to help you manifest new love is the theme of unprocessed sadness and grief. Unprocessed sadness and grief. I've noticed in the work that I do in the world that there are particular emotions that resonate and hold themselves with particular energy centers, chakras. And sadness and grief likes to hold itself in the heart space. I feel like we've all experienced this to a degree. Unprocessed, unfelt, ignored sadness and grief holds itself in the heart space. So one of the ways that we can open the heart and manifest new love is to give ourselves permission to feel the sadness, feel the grief that we have left unprocessed. This is very important because your body keeps score. Your tissues hold your issues. Emotion is energy in motion. So if we are holding on to a story such as sadness and grief through tears should not be expressed, sadness and grief means I am weak, right? I'll share another little anecdote here. I was at a beautiful event with a group of spiritual healers and people last week. And we went through a meditation, and one of the beautiful souls there after the meditation experienced some grief, experienced some sadness, and some emotion came up, some tears came up. And one of the first things that this person spoke through her words was, "I'm sorry." She apologized for crying. She apologized for expressing the grief. She apologized for showing the emotion. Again, how many of you have been in this boat? How many of you, especially in relation to grief and sadness, have apologized for the pure act of expressing it, for the pure act of experiencing it? We hold guilt and shame around the feelings of the feeling of the sadness and the grief. So this is really what we must move through. This is what we must learn to release. This is what we must learn to let go of. Because we have a limiting belief in our society that emotions are bad, that certain emotions are negative. But let me be very clear with my words. There's no such thing. There is negative stories and negative thought forms that we place onto the emotions that are negative, that cause further suppression. But the emotions are a communication from the divine. Right? So this is how we can manifest new love. This is how we can attract a partner, a tribe, a friend that also has these attributes, that also, because I'll say one more thing here, because there's a lot coming up around this topic. What do you think is under that suppressed grief? What do you think is under that suppressed sadness? Whenever I've expressed and allowed myself to feel the grief, to feel the unprocessed emotion, in this case, sadness, there was always a deeper layer of love. There was always a deeper layer of sensitivity. There was always a deeper layer of openness. So if you needed another reason to feel the grief and express the sadness, it's to access the deeper layer of your loving consciousness, which then attracts in, which then raises your vibration and thus connects you to the raised vibration of others. All right, let's keep it flowing. Sharon, welcome, beautiful being. Welcome to the live. I see you there in the chat. Let's keep it going. So just a wrap up here, to summarize some of the things we've talked about in this topic thus far, from using your heart chakra to manifest love. We've talked about compassion and having an empathetic heart. We've talked about forgiveness, unity, the ability to be vulnerable as an attractive space, energy flow of giving and receiving love, and sadness and grief. Next up here is, and this really flows beautifully on with the sadness and the grief and the allowing of the emotions up and out. The next is giving yourself permission to fall in love with the reality that you want. So in this instance, the reality of you with the manifested partner, you with the manifested friend, you with the manifested tribe. Giving yourself permission to fall in love with that version of you. I currently subscribe to the multi-world theory of reality. And what that multi-world theory of reality is not only is there nothing outside of you, not only is time as the linear progression an illusion, but every version of you that could possibly exist already exists here now in this moment. You are a multi-dimensional being. And one of the characteristics of that multi-dimensional nature is every possibility version of you exists in this present moment. So without going off into a whole big rabbit hole into that topic, which I'll probably do in a future episode, what we can learn to do to grasp this concept and thus the reality in which we have the manifested love that we want is we can fall in love with the version of us that already has the thing that we want. We can fall in love with the version of us that already has the thing that we want. Because as soon as we do that, we become, again, an attractor field for the things in our external reality that prove that to be the case. Let's give an example of this. Let's use a different example this time. Let's say I want to manifest a romantic partner that is a match for me because this person provides a beautiful, sensitive, vulnerable heart. One way that I can manifest this partner is during my meditations, maybe during my nature walks, during my breathwork sessions, whatever you use to connect into your inner space. When I'm in that inner space, connected to my allness, my wholeness, my infinite potential, what I can do is visualize that partner already in my reality, feeling that feeling of empathetic and a vulnerable heart, but then loving that experience, celebrating that experience, being grateful for the fact that that experience has already fulfilled, has already happened. Because, again, going back to our theory, it has already happened. So this is a practice that we can all learn to do. We can all learn to fall in love with the reality in which we have the thing that we want. And it is also another way of saying celebration, gratitude, right? These are your tools of raising this vibration and connecting into this reality that you deserve to live in, to embody. Sharon, you're saying layers are being peeled back today. Very happy. That's the goal. Okay. Last theme of the heart chakra to help you manifest new love. Your heart chakra, as most are probably aware, middle of your chest, right? Middle of your heart space. To the left and the right of your heart chakra, you have your divine masculine, and divine feminine portals. What we can learn to do through our heart chakra is come into deeper sensitivity, awareness of these parts of our wholeness. For people new to divine masculine, divine feminine, I'm not talking about gender here. I'm talking about your the two polarities that make up your wholeness. No matter if I am a physical male or a physical female in this incarnation, I have a divine masculine energy and I have a divine feminine energy. And energetically, in your chakra system, you have two portals that we can connect into to help us not just become more aware of them, but bring them back into balance, which is the biggest key here. Most of us in this life have very imbalanced divine masculine or divine feminine polarities, either too much in our feminine or too much in our masculine. Very rarely are we balanced. So what we can learn to do, and I often do this with people I work with as an example, you can connect into these portals and you can tune in, check in, tap in, and ask yourself what needs to be balanced. Is there more masculine, divine masculine action needed? Is there more divine feminine being, stillness, feeling needed? It's obviously going to be unique to you. But if we're not bringing awareness, if we're not bringing our active eye of loving attention to these polarities, then what do? We externalize it. Who do we externalize it on? Our relationships. So you can see the link here between manifesting new love. If I, Harrison, am imbalanced in my divine masculine or imbalanced in my divine feminine internally, and I'm not bringing inner awareness to it, then much like everything, I will project that imbalance onto my external world and expect that external person to fill that hole. And I don't need to go deeper into this example for you to understand and see how this can become a challenge, how this can become a problem in the relationships and the love you deserve to have in your life. So this is, again, another example of us taking our power back, taking our role as the most powerful being in our reality to meet our need, to meet our divine masculine or divine feminine need. So I come back into balance, and then I reflect that balance, attract from that balance a romantic partner, a tribe, a friend that I deserve to have in my world. Powerful. Powerful stuff. All right, beautiful beings. That's it for me today. That's all my heart chakra themes. I'd love to know, you can leave this in the comments, what theme connected most deeply with you? What resonated most? For me, for example, the vulnerability and the giving and receiving love, the energy flow. That's a big theme for me in my life at the moment through the heart and manifesting new love. So let me know what theme for you today really is the thing that needs to be brought awareness to. And don't just tell me, go do something about it. Go change it, go shift it, go bring some loving awareness to it. And again, let me know how that goes. For people new to my voice, this is a big part of what I do in my coaching world. So if you need deeper support with this, deeper mentoring, you know where to find me, reach out to me on social, all the things. I will be doing part 5 very soon of this series. So if you have questions for the next chakra that we're going to be hitting on in terms of manifesting new love, please again leave it in the comment section of the video live that you're watching on, and I will add it in. We'll be talking about the throat chakra themes of manifesting love, which again I'm excited about. It's a big one in my world. But regardless, until next time here in the show, I send you love, I send you light, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye everyone.